Hello, Void. How are you? You good? I'm not so good. I don't often get mad at movies. Bad movies, I usually find ways of enjoying them. Really, still? I do. But every so often, there'll be one that gets me. I've seen it back in my Claw review. That one kind of did. The Resident Evil final chapter made me mad. I mean, the series had been on thin ice for the last couple installments. This one made me mad. It's not easy to get me mad at a movie. I mean, either it has to be so grating, or it has to mess up one of two key elements. One is characters, particularly if you're operating with established things, and how you treat your characters. For what I'm getting at is, like, adaptations are kind of a gray area there. Like, if a character exists in one, I can accept that it might not exist perfectly in the other. But what you do with those characters throughout the series, if the characterization falls by the wayside somewhere, that's a problem. Or what this one does, also a problem, and I'll get to that soon. The other is continuity. I'm big on continuity. I used to try to, before the Zelda official timeline came out, try to piece those together. Despite the eras of Godzilla having different continuities, I still tried to make it work in my own head. I gave up on that eventually and accepted different realities. And I'm okay with the games and the movies being entirely different. But when you mess up everything you already had, and it is glaring in these last chapters, what makes it worse is when you've had a consistent director and writer. And it's the same guy doing both through most of these films. I think he stepped away during part 2. He still had his hands in there, but he didn't direct it. Otherwise, Paul W.S. Anderson has been there the whole way, so he should know better. Okay. What are my problems? Okay, so first off, you need to stop giving your editors espresso. You can linger on a shot longer than 2 seconds. My God! Watching any of the action scenes in this, I can usually follow the most hectic ones, but these ones I couldn't figure out what was going on half the times with how quickly it's cutting. Just by the time my eyes recognize what something is, we're already 2 things down. And it's frustrating. Okay. So the plot of this one, just to get that out of the way right away. The last one ended with the Dream Team having extracted Alice from a facility, and they were all the newly redeemed Wesker and her surviving rescuers, and her, with her powers now restored, gonna go to Washington, kick some ass. This one, they don't show us that battle. No. This one picks up like 2-3 weeks later after that battle's already taken place. Skipped it. I can forgive that, sure. But I have problems with it. We'll get to that later. Staying on topic for a moment. So, this one has her essentially boiling it down. She gets wind from the Red Queen that there's going to be an attack on the remaining human civilizations, the few holdouts. Umbrella's going to try to wipe them out, because I guess Umbrella's now going complete destruction now. But there's a cure, an airborne cure that could start spreading the thing and killing anything T-virus related. She decides to go back to the Hive from the first movie and get it. Meanwhile, Dr. Isaacs, who, if you recall, died in part 4, is back, revealing that that previous one was a clone. Okay, keeps with the continuity still. I'm fine with that. And he's essentially getting a religious zealotry group to lead an army of zombies in that direction. Try to root out the final survivors and ensure that the cure doesn't go out. He seems to believe that that a bunch of people who have been put into stasis will repopulate the planet after everything else has been wiped off clean, and only the chosen ones will enter the promised land. Okay, sure. So Alice heads there, meets with a group of survivors, including Claire Redfield, and they make a push to head into the Hive and deal with Wesker. I'll get to that in a second. Deal with Dr. Isaacs, and save the world. Okay. First off, a little annoying thing. She's got like this wrist timer until Doomsday, counting down days, but they stretch it out so awkwardly. I swear at one point it goes from 2 hours to having more than 2 hours, but I could just misread it. But they pay so... despite her glassing at it, they don't... What's taking clearly hours is only taking minutes off of it, so it doesn't even matter. Okay, so the main problems I have in this are continuity and how they treat the characters. Let's start. Then, shall we? So let's start right at the beginning with Alice by herself again. At the end of the last one, she was with Jill Valentine. She was with Leon S. Kennedy. She was with Ada Wong. And the little girl Becky that she made it a point of saving. All of them are gone. With no explanation, not touched on, not commented on. And that is a big problem for me. You have some of the most popular characters in the franchise, and you just forget about them. I mean, it could be implied that they all died off screen in between movies, which would be terrible also, but it is at least acknowledgement. This one doesn't even do that. They're just not mentioned. And again, they repeated the exact same thing with the little girl back in part 2. They made a big focus of her, and then she's gone in the next movie and never mentioned. Then we get to part 5, little girl, big focus, get to the next one, gone, never mentioned. Twice you do that. And they keep making it like it's a big character arc point for Alice. And then it's immediately dropped. Wesker is the other big point of contention for character, but I'm going to just pick him up, set him off to the side for a second, and get back to him in a moment. Let's talk about Dr. Isaacs. Now, they completely disregard everything they've already established about the T-virus in this one. They do. Back in part 2, it was established that it was mostly created by Dr. Ashford to help his ailing daughter, what was her name? Angie. Little Angie. The Forgotten Girl part 2. In this one, no. It was Dr. Marcus who created it to help his daughter who had this weird aging disease, whose Alice is now a clone of, I guess. I'm going to do spoilers in this. Do you care? I don't care. Nobody cares. This is a train wreck. Okay. So, Dr. Marcus created it now. Completely ignoring Ashford. They don't mention Ashford. He's gone. The Red Queen, who is based on Dr. Ashford's daughter. Now it's based on Dr. Marcus's daughter. And now we It's not just reskinning Dr. Ashford, because Dr. Marcus died before the events of any of this. So... And Dr. Isaacs is now in charge of Umbrella, despite him before being an underling to Wesker, but that just might have been his clone that was an underling to him, so I don't even know. The clone shenanigans muddies that issue even further. But, so the T-Virus's origins, completely retconned. How the virus spread. Now, originally, they didn't really say. But the scripts that indicated it was rats that spread the virus because they were beneath the explosion. Then, Part 5 indicated that, no, it was because Umbrella was selling bioweapons here, bioweapons there, bioweapons here, and then just eventually got out and it took over the world. This one at the beginning changes it again and says, no, it was wind. It was now airborne, so despite them bombing the place, it was already even spread so far, it was too late. And then, midway through the movie, they change it again. But this one is more of like a reveal, but still. Saying that, nope, Umbrella intentionally released it just to turn it into, like, the flood that killed the world, and they're building their own Noah's Ark. This is getting a headache. Now, the Red Queen's another continuity issue, and ties in with Wesker. Let's get into that, because that is another... that's one of the things that kind of broke me on this movie, was Wesker. Wesker is a big part of the Resident Evil franchise. He's been there since Part 1. He's important. You mess up Wesker, you're going to have problems. Now, I was fine with his portrayal throughout the other movies. But Part 5 and 6 here are at such odds with each other that destroys the whole point of it. Okay, so up parts 1 through 4, Wesker was either not present or a background villain indicating he was going to, that he was in charge and slowly ensuring Umbrella's future, being the corporate man, running things ruthlessly, and pretty much giving orders to clone Dr. Isaacs. Okay, cool. Part 4 runs around, and he's the main antagonist, and trying to essentially, well, fight Alice, and ends up taking her, injecting her with the serum to remove her magic powers and put her back closer to human, despite being now souped up himself. Okay, cool. Now, they kill him at the end of Part 4. Part 5 rolls around, and with no explanation... Actually, no. Get my Resident Evil's crossed. Okay, let's see, it was... No, Part 4 they killed him. Part 5, he's back again. Just, like, immediately. With no explanation. But now, he's trying to help Alice escape from the facility. Now, Alice was captured at the beginning of Part 5, and the whole movie is about her escaping from Umbrella. And Wesker is helping her because he realized that Umbrella was going to destroy the world, and Red Queen was pretty much homicidal and crazy. So, Wesker is the one who assembles the team to break her out. He's the one that shuts down the systems to break her out. He's the only one doing everything to get her out. And then he re-injects her with a serum to give her abilities back, and then they're going to fly to Washington, and they fly to Washington. This one rolls around, and Wesker's a villain again. So it was villain, hero, villain, but this one, it indicates he was leading her into a trap, that what he injected her with was a placebo, not actually giving her her powers back, and by leading all the heroes to this showdown in Washington, he was bringing them all to their deaths. Why? Umbrella already had her trapped in an interrogation room and was well on their way into breaking her. Why did he break her out? There's no reason for him to. It had absolutely no reason. It was completely pointless. So, what this movie says is everything that happened in Part 5 is utterly pointless. And that's what's pissing me off. Now, for Part 5, the villain was essentially Red Queen, who mostly seemed to have taken over Umbrella herself. And she was the one attacking them all the whole way there. Now, at the beginning of this one, Red Queen is, I want to help you. I mean, her characterization in this one is closer to what it was in Part 1. But we flip-flop villains completely. For no reason. This one's revealed that because the Red Queen found out that the virus was released intentionally, and she's supposed to be trying to contain the virus and protect humans, is why she's now trying to work against Umbrella. But can only do so much because she's also programmed to not harm Umbrella employees. So, villain change. And that is also not true. She can't even hurt Umbrella employees. That's what Part 1 was. She nuked a whole site. Her famous line is, "You're all going to die down here." And she killed a bunch of employees in the first movie. So it seems like, yeah, she can kill employees. So why she suddenly can't is, you know why? Because the plot says it'd be over if she could. That's it. It's clear that this was being written movie by movie with no indication of where the story was going. They made a movie, and then with no thought to the next one, and then they started the next one with barely even remembering what they'd already done. And it is very frustrating. So, while Red Queen is now acting more like she was in the first one, it's still a complete tonal reversal of the last movie. Wesker has flip-flopped back and forth for no reason, and in fact is acting counter to his own purposes. You know, I didn't think I disliked this one as much. I didn't expect it to be good. I didn't. No. I didn't have a high bar for this one. But like most of the others, I was expecting it to be some another dumb, fun thing. But to go get 6 movies in and then just break it so spectacularly. I mean, they've always had continuity issues. Little ones here or there. Ones that were frustrating, and that, yes, I had to comment on. But this one, they're so glaring. I mean, the complete group of missing characters really shows. I mean, I appreciate bringing Claire back. You leave out Chris again, and no indication what happened to Kmart. Yeah, everyone forgot about Kmart, huh? Never talked about her since Part 4. So Resident Evil Final Chapter. I'm sorry. This is the one I have to set the lowest. 1 MacGuffin. That's all I can give it. 1. I mean, damn. Also, little piece of advice. Never call your movie the final chapter. Haven't you learned anything from Friday the 13th? You never know if that's going to be true. This one's actually setting up for a TV series afterwards. That never happened. In fact, they're actually coming up with a reboot. But I imagine that's going to stick closer to the games, and Alice will remain a fixture of just this series. They saved the best for last. Oh, you didn't. No. Yeah. I got mad at this one. I got real mad. I enjoyed most of the series to some degree. A lot of it, I will say, it was not good. But the first two, I would actually really like. The other ones aren't great, but they're passable. This one, no. One MacGuffin. That's it. One and done. Okay. So I tenderized myself on this one. I've got objectively a worse movie coming up, but one that doesn't hurt my heart as much. My head, sure. My heart, though, no. This one hurt my heart. No. We're done. We're done.